A player's skill is always compared to that of others. Who has the greatest strength? The arms and hands to grab every rebound. The legs to rise above all.
Ahead of the back, showtime! Oh, no! Vince Carter does it again!
Who has the preeminent vision to see the play before it happens, to make the pass no one looks for?
With the pass to the legs of Sigma!
Whose mind reigns supreme, with the ability to dominate mentally as well as physically, to see a weakness and exploit it.
Toward the lane, to the hoop, up in, off the glass, and he's fouled!
Who possesses the greatest heart, the fierce drive to accomplish what has never been done before?
You can't believe that one, can you? Unbelievable! Julius Erving! Watch this fantastic move by the Doctor!
Do they work harder?
How did he do that?
Or are they more gifted? What pushes them to excel? The crowd's expectations or their own? What if all these attributes were combined into one player? He would be the NBA's ultimate player. In the history of the NBA, there have been few players who can truly be called visionaries. But for those select few, the game isn't seen, it is sensed. Every nuance is detected. Every subtlety is revealed to eyes wide open to the limitless possibilities presented by every play.
The thing that I think is most important is instincts, first of all, and also a vision. When I get the ball at first, I take a picture of the whole court.
Look at that pass by Mark Jackson. Mark Jackson with a magnificent pass.
Your point guard got to have peripheral vision. We sort of say we got to have eyes behind our heads too, because we don't know who's coming behind us. So we got to keep looking in behind us while we bring the ball up on a fast break and in front of us so we can make a good play.
Whoa, with Gilly.
Oh, what a pass. What a pass. Jim Hardaway.
I love the rhythm of the game and the team play and seeing the pass and knowing that something's going to happen. Knowing that I was seeing the court in a way that nobody else was seeing the court because I could see things unfolding.
Oh, what a pass. Oh, boy.
The eyes with which Isaiah Thomas looked over the court are often overlooked by those who would call him the best little man ever to play the game.
Thomas has a 3-on-2. Oh, what a pass!
Your peripheral vision is extremely important.
Here's Isaiah with a no-look dish.
You want to be able to get that pass from A to B and get it to a point where a guy can catch it and score.
Isaiah two-time, whips it inside the Lambeer.
He was called the Houdini of the hardwood, a nickname Bob Cousy earned not with feats of illusion, but with his field of vision.
I have exceptional peripheral vision. That's a tremendous asset to have in basketball when people talk about seeing the whole court. The assets were in place. For someone who is blessed that way, doing the unorthodox becomes very easy to do, frankly.
And no one appreciated Cousy's eye-catching performance more than his coach, Red Auerbach.
The key to this new style of play is the fast break.
Well, Cousy and I had an understanding. I didn't care how he threw the ball, as long as somebody caught it.
Cousy's legacy is carried on by John Stockton, the ultimate unselfish point guard and the league's all-time assist leader.
Down low to Malone, beautiful feed, slammed up, what a pass.
The guy can give you a holler, let you know that you're there, but most of the time it's you spot him at some point during the play and come back to him before the play's over.
Underneath, you'll go to Carmelo, lay it up and in.
If you watch him dribble the basketball, his head is like on a swivel the whole time. It's like he's always surveying everything.
You can see the guy without even looking at him. It is amazing the radar that John Stockton had.
Sometimes I can run the full with him, and he'll just go up and drop the ball right off to me, and I'll be like, God, how did he see that?
Stock down the right side, down underneath the Carl, beautiful pass, and scores. Jazz on the move, down the left side, he's got the ball.
I can actually say John Stockton probably know where all 10 of the players and the officials at pretty much at all time. because he's just that aware of what's going on the court.
Stockton to Malone. How many times have I said that in the last
That's deja vu.
All eyes were upon them, Magic and Bird. Entering the league at the same time, they reshaped our perceptions of how the game should be played.
Hard over the shoulder. He's for two and a foul. Still going. Oh! Highlight Bill. And then Bird goes inside. Out of the corner.
Are you kidding me?
Kellogg shoots and is short with it and hard. And the rebound to Bird. Look at that pass.
It's just an uncanny sense, and he'll do things out there you just say, and it just leaves you shaking your head and smiling.
Larry's going to slow it out. Oh, goes over the head to McHale.
Larry would make a bounce pass behind the back on the fast break. And you say, where's this ball going?
Collins going against Bird. Behind the back to Tiny. Beautiful.
Magic Johnson was a master of playmaking, and that made him the master of ceremonies for the Laker phenomenon known as Showtime.
That was a Showtime move.
Showtime was coming down on a fast break, looking left, and throwing right.
No, look underneath score. Magic's flying.
Showtime was coming down. You know, you got to get into your groove thing now. You know, you got to shake, rattle, and roll first. I knew that I could no look and all that, but I was a student of the game. I was smart.
A spectacular play by Magic Johnson.
You know when you go to a concert to somebody you really love, and they start putting on a show, and then all of a sudden you're up out of your seat, and you don't know how you stood up. You didn't know that you were up because they captivated you. They put you right here. And it's the same way with me.
Magic wants it more. Dribble behind the back. Oh, what a play! Slam dunk.
The ultimate NBA player has only two arms, with a multitude of traits. Remarkable wingspan.
Boy, he's got to have the longest arms in the world.
Imposing power that allows him to dominate inside.
It's just that awesome strength. It's almost inhumane.
Or to reach for and achieve the impossible.
Off the glass for Garnett, and he hammered it in.
When it comes to defense, long arms mean well-armed from any angle.
Oh, what a great block by Scottie Pippen. Oh, Robinson blocking Johnson and got it back again. And to Kempe with the block.
There's the long arms of the law.
Throughout NBA history, many have used their long arms as intimidating weapons. But no one did it like Boston's Bill Russell, whose legendary shot blocking made him the game's premier defender. On offense, there is also a call to arms, long arms, as a means to shoot over defenders or to reach above and rattle NBA rims.
Alley-oop back to Kevin. Oh, baby! Woo! And the building is electric off that slam dunk.
The first player to use his long arms to dominate offensively was George Mikan, whose revolutionary hook shot changed the game forever.
Mighty Mikan is in the pivot, and it's 2 more points for Minneapolis.
Kareem Abdul-Jabbar turned the hook into a graceful and deadly shot, which made him the game's all-time leading scorer.
Kareem's sky hook was the single best shot that I've ever been around.
Ford sends it to Kareem. Sky hook up and good. Lakers win. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Showtime was that beautiful sky hook. That's the most beautiful shot that I've ever seen in basketball.
But a player's arms are most often about muscle and strength, and they are impressive assets for today's NBA stars.
I would say arm strength in NBA, to me, is everything.
Now that was strength. Oh, what a presence there.
They have to be stylish. You know, you got to have a little definition in your arm.
And among the most well-defined are the Spurs' David Robinson and the Heat's Alonzo Mourning, two of the game's most powerful big men.
Look out below!
For one former player, the strength of his arms was matched only by the flair of his personality. Darryl Dawkins' trademark was terrifying dunks dispensed with crowd-pleasing power.
My philosophy on dunking was, I want to put the ball in the goal as hard as I can put it in there.
And Darryl takes it right home.
And that was awesome.
Like Dawkins, Shaquille O'Neal is playful and ominous with superhuman arms that wield incredible strength.
Chapman comes in deep all the way. Shaq blocks it. He hit it so hard the lights almost went out.
Ostertag leaning on Shaq, who spins and goes strong to the bucket.
I looked out the corner of my eye, and like for a minute there, split second, I didn't realize it was Shaq. So I turned around, man. He's just coming down like, you know how Shaq cocks it all the way back. I ran out of there so fast, man. Don't you ever get underneath me again. Okay.
Hill follows and does bring down the entire backboard. How strong is he? Well, I think this backboard company will attest to it.
But perhaps the most impressive set of arms in the NBA today belong to the mailman, Karl Malone.
The only thing I'll tell you about Karl Malone's arms is I wish I had a set like that, because I'd be posing somewhere.
You know, I've never seen a man built as strongly as Karl Malone is.
Malone has worked feverishly throughout his career to develop those arms.
Every human being have approximately the same amount of muscle.
Look at those arms. He looks like a blacksmith.
They can, however, vary in size.
And the mailman has often flexed his muscle against helpless opponents.
Byron Scott gets by Stockton. Blocked by Malone. What a play!
To the mailman, make a three. Grab to the alley. Hammered up. The mailman's up the verge.
Green to the left. He almost ripped the bucket right off the hinges.
His arms are very dangerous.
Underneath the crowd, he's got it. Reverse to left side. Score it. Count it. And he's fouled.
Just pure strength.
As a youngster in Philadelphia, Wilt Chamberlain's long and powerful arms made him a legend both on and off the court.
What was exciting for me as a kid at 13, 14 years old was to come to his house and see him pick up 350 pounds in a weight, and then see him on the court when he used to just shed guys off of me.
And Chamberlain was as confident as he was strong.
I think in the long run, I'll be able to handle myself man-to-man with almost anyone in the league.
That was a severe understatement, as Wilt dominated the league, once scoring 100 points in a game.
The only thing I wanted to do was just try driving on him, which is crazy, because every time I attacked him, he blocked my shot. So I only had to do that about 3 times, and then I knew my lesson not to drive on Wilt.
When he entered the NBA, Wilt's unheard-of size and strength had everyone up in arms.
First time I saw him, I was in awe. I had never seen a man this size, not only his height, over 7 feet tall, but the shoulders and the strength.
You have no idea how physically imposing he was.
Strongest basketball player that ever lived.
More than records, facts, or figures, Wilt Chamberlain's legacy is the stuff of legends.
Wilt was a Paul Bunyan figure, mythic in what he could personally do.
Wilt Chamberlain went up to dunk a ball, and Calvin Murphy jumped on him. And Wilt actually completed the dunk, came down, took Calvin off his back, and put him on the floor. You all right, little fella?
Probably the greatest play I have ever seen in my life, Wilt Chamberlain was involved with Gus Johnson. Wilt was standing there. Gus goes up to dunk it. Wilt catches the ball, throws Gus to the floor. Still holding the ball, they carry Gus off the court with a dislocated shoulder from bouncing off the floor. I don't see how anyone in the NBA will ever be as strong as he was.
The word hands, as applied to basketball, has a meaning unique to the game. Hands are the player's point of contact with the ball. All his knowledge and abilities are ultimately expressed through his hands. So the phrase good hands doesn't refer to the way they look, but to the way they're used.
Stockton steals it. Stockton steals it. Outstanding rebound. A tremendous block. The guy can't get any higher than that.
In today's game, there's no better example of good basketball hands than those which serve the many purposes of Sacramento's Chris Webber.
Lobs to Weber with one hand. He sends in some thunder from hell.
He got some mittens. You know, if you see some of the rebounds he gets, man, you know, they're just cover. You can't even really see the ball.
Weber battles, tips, controls. Oh, what a great rebound by Weber. He goes back up strong. He scores!
I've been blessed with big hands, but I always grew up wanting to be a guard, so I always did a lot of things dribbling in the guard drills and throwing it off the wall and catching it.
That childhood practice paid off, as his hands are adept at every facet of the game.
The follow by Weber, and man, was that emphatic.
Chris Weber, you talk about a big man with great hands.
While Chris Weber has his hands in just about everything, there are some players who put theirs to a more specialized use, and their chosen field is quick-fingered thievery.
Steal by Peyton. They call him the glove.
But the best ever at picking opponents' pockets learned his trade in New York. Walt Clyde Frazier of the Knicks. Silky smooth, lightning quick, and always lying in wait for a steal.
He was what you call a great gambler with great hands. So if you allowed him to lull you, I mean, he'd pick you clean.
Suffocating defense, transition basket. The whole package is right here.
West across the midcourt, loses to Frazier. Drives ahead of the field, down the lane, layup is good.
They say I was like a leopard or panther on the defense, smothering my guy. If I steal one ball, I think I'm going to steal more.
Frazier again did it. Isn't that something?
Sometimes I could see in guys' faces when the crowd started yelling, defense, defense. Their eyes were blank. Then I tried to get all over them.
Frazier made his move to gain possession of the ball and to seize upon the emotions of the moment.
Whenever I made a steal, the crowd wouldn't shut up. I could see in guys' faces the anguish. It becomes frustration, you know, devastation. There was no fire, no desire in their eyes. They lost it.
Pass stolen by Frazier. He drives down the lane, lays it up, and good. Incredible defense by the Knicks.
Some players manipulated their hands in delicate brushstrokes, as with George Gervin's celebrated one-of-a-kind finger roll.
You know, I just think that was just a great shot for me, because hardly could nobody block it. You know, you just roll it over their fingertips, you know, and they think they got it, and it just roll over.
Connie Hawkins also made the most of his hands. And of course...
Let's watch Jordan. Oh, give him a 10.
Michael Jordan at his best. There's very few people on this planet that can do this. He's just simply amazing.
Out to Jordan, down the lane, all the way.
Julius Erving revolutionized the way NBA hands are used. His complete control of the ball with one hand was the launching pad for his aerial game.
Doc would do things that was really, really different because he had these large old hands. You see, when he palmed the ball, it looked like a little orange in his hand.
Oh, what a shot by the doctor.
What a play by Irving. That's a play that only Julius could make.
It's 89-84. Sixers, and they get inside. Unbelievable. Julius Irving. Watch this fantastic move by the doctor.
But if the hands are truly the ultimate extension of a player's mind, talent, and tenacity, then the nod for all-time greatest must go to Larry Bird. There was nothing Larry Legend couldn't or wouldn't do with his hands.
Offensive board on the cut to Bird, swings through, little reverse, layup is good. How did he make that? Little upgrade by Oberding, and a nice steal by Bird. Behind the back to Butler.
Look at that pass. Oh, what a show.
Play.
Oh, what a show. Forget about it.
What a play by Bird.
Bird gets it back. Saves it. Nice pass to Maxwell. What a play.
Bird with the pass through the legs of Sigma.
I don't know if it was just growing up in French Lick, Indiana and working on the farm or what. You know, it's just something that you're born with.
great hands, crooked fingers, really crooked fingers. It's amazing that he could hang on to the ball like that.
Okay, now I want you people to sit down and relax, because what you're about to see, you may not believe even after you've seen it.
From this day on, I would like to be known as the Big Aristotle.
Styles of play have changed too.
Hey, yo, go hustle, dog.
Don't ever get cornrows and braids mixed up, because braids lay down, cornrows stick up. Dreadlocks or a longer cornrow. Are you getting this?
Let's go. Come on.
Before it's all over with, all these guys will be wearing these. Right?
Oh yeah, all day.
Remember what we said about Charles?
Yeah.
Part entertainer, 100% basketball player.
Best job in the world. This is the best job in the world.
Different tastes, different looks. All tied up or all let down. The poses and the personalities of the NBA.
I'm going to keep struggling for freedom.
I think if you want to go back to the 60s, Cherokee Parks will take you there.
He just let it all grow out tonight, man.
The big throw was the thing to have. If you didn't have a big throw, you had a TWA. And a TWA was a teeny-weeny afro. There was a lot of them around.
Hi, I'm George Gervin of the San Antonio Spurs.
It takes all kinds to make it the greatest job in the world. But even in the world of the NBA, Dennis Rodman was one of a kind.
Dennis Rodman with that wild hairdo of his. That certainly multicolored, technicolored hairdo that Rodman is wearing.
While Dennis Rodman was the wildest, Julius Erving was the most widely imitated, as he set a style that defined an era.
You know, fro was the thing, obviously.
He had this big afro, and the key to his afro, I guess, was to see how high he could pick it up straight, to see how far he could fly it back when he was running down the court.
He had a real afro. I mean, he could be combing his hair, you didn't know what he was going to pull out of it, man.
You know, his hair would always be flying in the back as he's flying through the air.
When you came onto the basketball court, and you know, you got a little acceleration, and your fro was kind of blowing in the wind, it was a pretty dynamic look, you know, looking at some of those old tapes. I felt as though it looked good, felt good, it was a style.
But there's no simpler way for a player to express himself than with his mouth.
I don't play around. I don't play around. I'm gonna get you back. Go ahead, shoot it right now. Protect the basket! Let's go, let's go. Woo! That's what I'm talking about.
What I want to say is, you know how it feels because you've been here before. Me, I haven't scored a point.
Yeah, but you kind of brought the guys here that scored the points.
Well,
So you're overpaid.
You can't get too close to Michael, it's a foul.
SHAQIEMOUSE. I love this game.
Nobody has talked longer or louder than Charles Barkley.
Sometimes I dream that he is me. I just want to be like Chuck.
He is really a different guy. His elevator doesn't always go to the top.
Well, we don't have a lot of plays. All the plays we got is get the ball to me somehow.
From my point of view as a reporter, I mean, Barkley to me is got to be one of the greatest players who ever lived.
Oh, it's a difference in the game. It's not often when a guy who's supposed to win the game for you blows it for you. But you take the good with the bad.
Charles Barkley is the most provocative, most interesting player of this era.
God
want us to win the world championship.
I don't know if I go that much off.
I talked to him the other night. But ain't no one player can guard me, and y'all can write that down. Quit reaching, oh, you know you can't guard me, boy.
He'll always leave you laughing or guessing or sometimes annoyed, but you know, he's great to talk to.
Somebody has to be me. Might as well be me.
He just makes you wish that for one day you could fly in the air.
He worked so hard every second that he was on the floor that he would win games by attrition.
I mean, you can't describe it. You can't make it up. I mean, it's pure artistry.
To play behind him was death. I mean, you couldn't stop it.
When I first came to the league, Robert Parrish told me, so whatever you do, young fella, you take care of your legs. And always understand, the bicycle can only go if the wheels are turning.
Power, speed, and endurance. Spring. The ultimate pair of NBA legs is a hybrid that combines all of these qualities. Power in the legs of players who are short by NBA standards can be a great equalizer. It elevated Vinnie Johnson's game.
Vinny's three-pointer on the way short. Rebound, Vinnie Johnson. He skied over everybody. 8-foot jumper, good. Vinnie Johnson, 6'2", beat every huge Laker to the ball.
Strength enabled him to start, and perhaps more importantly, to stop in a flash.
Vinny puts up a 14-footer.
He scores!
That's unbelievable, George, that shot.
The microwave scores with 0.7 seconds left in the game.
World B. Free had a similar ability to stop and rise without forward momentum, to release his shot over taller defenders. Propelled by his leg power, he was among the league's most explosive scorers.
Prince of midair, he calls himself. Lloyd Free at 6'1", just jumps over the big guys inside.
Center Wes Unseld was known more for holding his ground than for rising above it. For 13 seasons,
Unseld, look at him, horse aboard.
he claimed his territory in the paint.
How strong that guy is in there with that basketball. He's like a redwood.
How tall was Charles Barkley? As tall as he needed to be, because of the unlimited power in his legs, which he used to redefine the forward position.
And I felt like, because I was so short, that I had to build up my leg strength.
Stolen by Barkley. Barkley to the hole. Boy, does he pound that home. Oh, it just was strength. See, 8th rebound already. Barkley. Nobody cut him off. Barkley went all the way for the slam. That's what you call powerful, baby.
Since its inception, basketball has been more about covering space than occupying it. Moving forward tirelessly for 48 minutes. That's what's required of NBA legs. And no player could cover the court as quickly as the Lakers' James Worthy.
Larry Bird against Cooper. Johnson doubles in a steal by James Worthy. It's Worthy all the way. And he could take care of the court with just a couple of strides. His legs are okay. There he goes all the way. Slam dunk.
Catching him was the toughest thing. You know, he'd have about a 2-foot head start on me to begin with, and then I had to run down there and chase him.
Blocked by Kareem. Here's Worthy. Oh, my, what a shot.
And then there was Dennis Rodman, whose legs seemed to have a will of their own.
Dennis Rodman, man, that guy had some great legs. Just his run. He used to just run like a deer, just running down the court.
Rodman goes for the steal, and it pays off. What a play on both ends for Dennis Rodman.
For sheer endurance and commitment to constant movement, the NBA's yardstick has long been John Hondo Havlicek.
One night they measured how far he ran in a game, and they came in. John Havlicek had run 8 miles in the course of one basketball game.
Havlicek. 10 seconds, 8 seconds. Havlicek jump shot, no good. His own rebound is good. Unbelievable.
The more that basketball has been refined, the more gravity has been defied. jumping was always at a premium, but it has reached a whole new level in the modern game.
What is in those sneakers?
I mean, he gets so high off the ground, it's like he's going up forever.
The human highlight film Dominique Wilkins added to his reel with every assault on the hoop.
Look out, running. Oh, my goodness. He was looking down at the basket on that time.
One of my favorites is Dominique's two-hand windmill. He was in a balled-up position and bringing it all the way around and dunking with that power. I mean, that's amazing.
Of course, no look at the art of ascension would be complete without mention of the man known simply as Air.
Now takes it right side, cuts back left, down the lane.
And how high can you jump?
Michael Jordan at his best. There's very few people on this planet that can do this.
The origins of many of today's dunks can be traced to Julius Erving, a pioneer of NBA flight.
Doctor's back. House call.
He was doing things back then that was just unreal. And I almost got a technical foul for jumping that high out my seat because I couldn't believe the man doing these things.
Yes, he's got it. Here he comes. Way rock the baby to sleep and slam dunk. The doctor made a sensational play.
In the new millennium, that legacy is being honored and enlarged by players who have elevated the game ever higher above the rim, setting new precedents with each game and pushing the envelope of creativity. But that envelope has been pushed the farthest by the Raptors' Vince Carter, who reminds us with nearly every move that when it comes to athletic achievement on the basketball court, there simply are no limits.
Let's go home, ladies and gentlemen. Let's go home.
Vince Carter's doing dunks that Dr. J used to do, but, you know, making it look even better.
Newman drives. Oh, Carter with great hands and strip. Ahead of the pack. Showtime. Oh, no. Vince Carter now. Look out. Holy mackerel. Did he elevate for the jam? Woo. Carter. It's. Woo. Soaring through the air. Vince Carter.
Insanity. Ain't no fair, man. I got so little hops and you got so much.
Carter has his peers shaking their heads in amazement.
I think I packed my hops up and put them in the garage for the rest of my career after I seen Vince dunk.
And has basketball's future very much up in the air. Feet, the foundation of the ultimate NBA player. But what material do you choose? The speed of some of the fastest guards ever to play, or the agility of the game's great big men down in the low post?
Oh, the dream! Put a little old dream shake!
Hakeem Olajuwon's signature dream shake has left defenders in the dust and a trail of admirers along the way.
I remember my first time playing against Hakeem, I wanted him to do the dream shake.
Oh, the dream shake! Baseline dream shake. Robinson is saying, what must I do?
Been doing that forever.
At power forward, Kevin McHale was never the fastest or strongest, but his footwork gave him a limitless variety of moves that made him an unstoppable force in the low post.
Kevin finds a way. Oh, Kevin McHale. Whoa, what a move.
Kevin McHale's the best player I ever played against. I felt like he was unguardable offensively.
He's got the best post moves in all of basketball.
The Spurs' Tim Duncan has taken a page from Kevin McHale's playbook. Down on the blocks, the agile 7-footer gets his shot off at will.
His moves in the post are so polished. He's such a quality player so early in his career.
Nate Tiny Archibald's quick feet carried him to a Hall of Fame career. He weaved through players to make difficult shots or to create easy ones for his teammates.
Tiny brought quickness to any team that he's ever played for. He was one of the 2 or 3 quickest and fastest guards that have ever played in the NBA.
Holds at the top, penetrates, goes in for the layup. It is good.
Is he exciting? I'd pay to see him.
At 5'3" and change, Muggsy Bogues has not only survived, but excelled in a land of giants.
When I'm bringing the ball up the court, you know you got to get lower than him because he can just jet and take the ball from you.
Fumbled for a moment. Bogues picks his pocket. What a steal by Muggsy Bogues!
Time to roll, baby. Time to roll.
See Allen run, and catch him if you can.
This kid loves to play basketball. It comes right down here in the soul. Take everything else away, give him a basketball, and he smiles, and he'll break you down, break your ankles with that smile as quick as with that crossover.
Iverson blowing by everybody, lays it up and in.
But the feet of Isaiah Thomas are the right stuff for the ultimate player.
The young Isaiah, you can compare him to a great extent to a guy like Iverson. They want to break somebody's ankles and embarrass you and show you just how skillful they are. He was a brilliant creator who scored a great deal from the point guard position.
If he'd have been 5 inches taller, he might have been the greatest player that ever played the game.
With dazzling displays of electrifying footwork, Isaiah Thomas left defenders dazed and confused throughout his 13-year career.
Isaiah spins by Webb, finger rolls, and fills it up! It's like watching an artist work.
It is the body's command center, its organic computer always at work, absorbing and processing, analyzing and interpreting, focusing and planning. And when its assessment is made, the muscles react accordingly. In an instant, infinite options are presented to it, but choosing the right one is the ultimate challenge of the ultimate NBA mind.
When he came into the league, he didn't look like a rookie. He played like a veteran. And, you know, his skill level was so high, the ability to play the game, knowing situations, knowing how to make plays. Those were the things I most marveled at.
At the end of this long conversation with Walton, I got up to leave, and he said, you know, Coach, there's one thing more. And I said, what's that, Bill? He said, don't assume we know anything. And I said, okay. So that's a rare thing when you hear a player say something like that. He was a fierce competitor who wanted to win and would do whatever he had to do to win.
There wasn't anything that he didn't do that wasn't thought out. He might have put a little extra swirl on it at the end, but it was always on the money and for a point.
You know, just watching him dribble up that court and looking you right in the eye and not knowing what he's going to do is the scariest thing you ever want to be involved in.
This man can concentrate at a very quick pace. Game time comes, and the focus is there, and it's quickly done, and he's able to get his mind on the spot at the moment and at the point. It's total readiness to respond to the necessary needs of the moment.
Michael Jordan is in another time, in another space, on another plateau.
He dreamed the game. He knew what was going on in everybody's mind.
That fake? Got it! Oh, what?
He would just keep thinking, and the more he thought, the better he got.
Larry's going to slow it up. No, it goes over the head to McHale.
This was the smartest guy in the world of basketball.
Now they clear aside for Larry. Fakes him.
Bird. There's the play of the game, right there.
He wore number 6, and it seems only fitting, as he possessed a sixth sense for the game. Bill Russell explored basketball's depths from the inside out.
I think Russell was the foxiest, smartest, meanest player psychologically that ever played the game.
He had a book on everybody.
He knew where this guy liked to take a shot. I mean, he took defensive basketball and made it an art form.
What a block by Russell!
He is so bright that you can never fool him twice in a season on the same move.
Russell didn't try to block every shot. He could have blocked many more shots. Russell waited till the right moment to block a shot. Russell would lull an opponent into thinking he could make a certain move, and then in the 2 minutes to go in the game, make the same move for the 4th or 5th time in the game and find the ball put down his esophagus.
Russell's game of the mind often revealed itself on the court as mind games he would play with opponents.
Psychologically, you have to try to make the offensive player question what he's doing. Will this work? And can I make this shot? And you have to create doubts.
West all alone. Look at Russell come down. And what a play by Russell!
He would psych them that every time they would go to the middle, they'd look, where's Russell?
Russell blocked shots without blocking them because people wouldn't take shots because they were afraid to take them. He changed the whole game.
I went around my man, go to him for a layup, and he blocked a couple of shots on me. And then the next time I got around him, I missed a layup looking for him.
He played the game on another level, his own, within his own private dimension, a battleground where his chosen weapons were intelligence, logic, and cunning.
There was an element of surprise in the way I played, in that I do things that they didn't think could be done. And I always have the other players on the other team wondering what I was thinking or what I was going to do. You know, is he going to get this shot? Is he going to block this shot? He can't block from where he is. And then I block it from where I was, and they say, how do you do that?
He had the ability that he wouldn't go out and commit himself where you could maybe pass off and hit his man. He would just stay halfway between you, you know, sort of leaning toward you, and you're saying, what the heck is he going to do now?
And I would block a guy's shot and say, yes, we did that to you. And if you come back, we'll do it again. If you come back again, we'll do it another time. So you'll have to try something else to do. That won't work.
The many epic confrontations he waged with Wilt Chamberlain were the most challenging tests of his basketball savvy. To counter his imposing, overpowering opponent, Russell took a Zen-like approach. Less would be more.
You see, what I had to do was discipline myself psychologically or intellectually, in that to never get into a numbers game with him, because then I'd be playing his game and not my game. And my game consists of doing things that made my teammates effective. It took me years to find out how to play him, because if you play him you can't play him the same way all the time, because he'll make adjustments. I had about 4 or 5 different ways I'd play him. But the idea was that I never could stop him, but I could put some speed bumps. That's the best I could come up with.
Perhaps his greatest mental ability was to sift through all the mind's clutter, to discover and harness purity of purpose, a distilled dedication to one goal, winning.
Russell had an attitude, and most people would just say plainly a winning attitude. That doesn't really describe it all. He thought he was the best defensive player to play. He also thought he was the best all-around player to play. Yeah? And he thought that any team he plays on should win every single game. So that sort of permeated the entire team. How can we lose? We can't lose. That was Russell's gift.
You go out there in a game, there are 10 players, 3 refs, 2 hoops, 20,000 people, 1 ball. And what's going to happen with that ball is the most interesting thing.
Perhaps the single most important is one you can't see. Its resilience is the root of character. Its strength defines the depth of one's will. Its size measures greatness, revealed through effort. An expression of the unrelenting rhythms that beat deep within the heart of a champion.
When a player is so unique in his commitment to the game, his commitment to excellence, his willingness to sacrifice, you know that they're going to put everything they have on the line. Those are the truly great players in the history of the game that have defined what basketball is, and it's a rare group indeed.
Let's push ourselves right now. Let's push ourselves right now.
Stay tough. Stay tough. That's what it's about.
The difference between victory and defeat often comes down to an intangible that can't be found in a stat sheet. Simply, who wants it the most?
That's just effort. That's all effort.
It comes down to focus, it comes down to intensity, and it comes down to courage and will.
I was always taught that every time you had an opportunity to get the ball, you better take that chance. Every loose ball could be the outcome of the game. Every rebound, every time you did something to help your team, it was a plus for you.
Burns in the crowd trying to get a loose ball back, and by golly, he does it.
My mentality was I was going to try to last longer. It was an endurance race for me, and you're going to be able to do a lot of things against me and make me look bad, but I'm going to last longer than you. It's like being in a fight.
Playing with reckless abandon can take its toll, but the great ones somehow find a way to persevere.
Later on in your years, you'd lay there on the training table and you'd rub your leg and you'd say, come on, legs, come on, just give me one more game. I'll quit after this, just give me one more game. That's all I want. You go out and play that one game. Then the next game, you'd be there on the training room table and you go, you know, I like to lie a little bit, legs, you know that, but this time I'm serious. Give me one more game. Give me one more game.
I remember laying there on that floor, you know, wincing in pain. And if you're not strong enough mentally to overcome and you can't persevere, then you'll fall and you'll be like everybody else in the league.
How many times have we seen Isaiah? He presses the inner button in the heart, and all of a sudden he just takes it on.
Willis Reed's display of heart in the 1970 finals will be remembered forever. He could barely walk on his injured leg, but he refused to sit out the seventh game.
This is what I dreamed about as a high school kid. This is what I worked so hard for in college. Not only me, but everybody else in that locker room. And I thought that for me not to go out there, then I would be letting them down. I wasn't gonna let that happen.
Reed's courageous effort led the Knicks to their first championship. But while his heart inspired their victory, others have needed heart to overcome the bitter sting of defeat.
You can talk about winning, but the losing, when you really want to win something special, is the thing that just, it never, ever leaves you. I don't care how much you win, it never leaves you.
I'm disappointed and frustrated right now. I mean, I can't even put it into words how bad I feel right now. I mean, it's that bad. You know, most of the people out there, they don't understand. They think it's just a game you play. This is your job, and you really care about winning and losing.
Boy, does it hurt when you know it's not going to be your ring.
I don't deal with losing well already, and then here it compounds by me not playing well. So I actually had a chance to cry and really say, man, that was my fault. You know, I'm sorry. You know, you turn to the guys.
Adversity is the true test of a player's will, and the special players take losing to heart and turn it into a battle cry.
This has to be one of the most decisive routes in championship game history.
You know, we got some great players on this team, but we don't have the players with the heart sometimes that we need. And until we get our hearts where they belong, we're in trouble.
Now there's a steal by Bird. Underneath the DJ, lays it in. What a play by Bird. Bird stalled
find out a lot about yourself, not when you're on the top, but when you're on the bottom.
Isaiah, if you could, just one more time, the final 5 seconds.
You see Bird coming in all right. And you will get hit so hard that you really have to, like, question, is it worth it? But then you wake up the next morning, you come back twice as strong and twice as committed.
Here's Isaiah. Let's see what we got. All the way up. Go! That is literally carrying the team on his back.
Those with the biggest hearts know no fear. Their resolve resonates from within when the game is on the line.
It's a Laker ball and a shot to win it. Down by 1. 5 seconds to go. And he got middle, just what I thought. A hook shot at 12. Good!
You're not always going to be successful, but you know, if you're scared to fail, you don't deserve to be successful.
Robinson on Barkley. It's his game to win. Barkley, 20-footer, yes!
Sometimes you go over on the bench and everyone starts looking at you and you say, well, I think I'm the only guy over here. But you'd be surprised. There's a lot of players that just don't feel comfortable doing that. A lot of them don't want the responsibility, and there's a certain responsibility because you don't always succeed. And when you've done it before, people expect it.
2 seconds, 1 second. West throws it up. He makes it. West threw it up and makes it. Over half court.
It's like Robert Parrish always said, you know, there's 40,000 eyes on Larry Bird because they knew he was going to get the ball. And we knew it, our opponents knew it, now it's just up to them to stop it.
All right, here's Dennis, gets it into Bird. Larry, a runner. Got it! Boston wins!
I've always said if you're up by 1 point and there's about 7 seconds on the game clock, anybody will take that shot when they're ahead, when it's tied even. But when you're down 1, you really separate the men from the boys.
Double teaming Bird. Larry, fake, fall away. Hits it! All right!
You are watching what greatness is all about.
While the heart itself is hidden, the acts it inspires are there for everyone to see. And history bore witness to the heart of Michael Jordan.
People don't understand. It's not his jumping or his jump shot or his defense. It's his inner guts and his inner heart. You're going to have to cut Michael Jordan's heart out to beat him.
There's something compelling about this guy, so likable, so beautiful to watch, and yet with the athletic heart of an assassin, and just look right through you.
The look that he had, it was like, whatever you do, whatever you say, we're gonna beat you. And once you get him like that, all you can do is move aside because there's no stopping this freight train.
He's like a pit bull. If you look at a pit bull in the eye, he takes that as a challenge, and he's gonna bite you. The best way to play Michael Jordan is start looking this way, this way. You don't never make eye contact with him, because then he's gonna go out and beat you.
Early in his career, Jordan's athletic talent was the known quantity. But what of his competitive drive? It soon was universally recognized as the force that drove him and his teammates to excellence and accomplishment.
You got it, Dennis. That's enough now, that's enough.
Michael is a tough guy to work with. He'd get in people's faces and tell them they weren't doing the job, or he could come in at halftime and explode in the locker room, and I'd come in and find the locker room chilly.
Keep your head. Hey, you doing with the final? Let's go. Keep your head. Everybody get together.
The will that Michael brought to the game, the sheer energy, we're not going to lose no matter what.
The inbounds pass comes into Jordan. Here's Michael at the foul line. A shot on Elo. Good! The Bulls win it! They win it!
I wanted to win so much, so bad. I put forth so much effort. The players started to get a feeling of what type of competitive drive and competitive attitude I had.
As a leader, you want to be there for your team. As long as I'm able to walk and run and shoot, I've always been there. Sick, it didn't matter.
A courageous, classic performance by the flu-ridden Michael Jordan.
Where there was his will, there was a way for the Bulls. At the heart of their 6 championships was the immeasurable heart of Michael Jordan.
The toughest part was trying to stay on top. Many days that you felt like, well, is it worth it? Could you just somehow take a day off and get by and yet still achieve what you want? But, those are the moments that you push yourself.
He's just simply amazing. He does whatever he has to do to beat you.
I felt compelled each and every day to go out and take an extra mile.
Jordan past Petrovic. You can't believe that one, can you? You better. They swarm him in that double they do on the baseline. Now Kemp going to the hoop. A thundering overhead slam. What a play! Look out, George. Here he comes. 360 turn. Quickly made the block.